The EU now wants to put a camera that watches the driver of every newly sold car in the EU. Do you remember when the EU wanted to mandate every internet company to log and scan your private messages in the name of child safety? Now they want to invade your privacy for another reason, road safety. The EU has accepted a bill that mandates new equipment on every car sold in the EU, known as the General Safety Regulation, or GSR2 for short. It includes, among other things, better forward vision, better emergency braking systems, improved safety glass, and a driver monitoring system. Now, the law doesn't name that it specifically has to be a camera, but most car manufacturers who have driver distraction warning systems are using infrared cameras that face the driver in order to do that. Now, I think that this part of the legislation violates our privacy to an unjustified extent. You see, for 100 years we have treated our cars like private property, like a private space. You would expect that your discussions or your moments with your family are not broadcasted. To be fair, the Commission does say these systems have to be closed loop, meaning that no recording or information should leave the car. Everything should stay locally. But knowing how interconnected these cars are today and how they're always connected to the internet, it is safe to assume that if something can be hacked, then it eventually will be hacked. Even more, it doesn't even need to be hacked. All it takes is one software update to be able to link the camera to another system. Also, car makers say that it's going to be closed loop, but they have been caught in the past selling customer data to insurance companies. Therefore, we cannot guarantee that these systems will keep our privacy. Therefore, it is a red line that we cannot cross. Now, they say that it is against distracted driving, but in my opinion, it is the car itself that has become the greatest distraction in recent years. I occasionally drive new vehicles when I go on business trips and I rent them. So I have seen a variety of cars, and most of the new cars are horrible. It's a terrible user experience. There's always a beep going on. They misread speed limit signs. The menus are very complicated. They save on buttons, and now I need to access the menu in order to open the glove box, for example. It is a train wreck of user experience and a horrendous example of cost cutting. If the EU truly wants less distracted drivers, then maybe they should mandate the minimum number of physical buttons, for example. Also, these systems are not perfect. They make mistakes and sometimes can even cause accidents. I personally had the experience of almost being killed once by a lane hold assist when I wanted to avoid a truck that was stopped at the side of the road. I also heard stories about Teslas stopping in the middle of the highway due to a software bug and causing a mass accident. So no, adding more systems doesn't always solve our problems. Distractions are one thing, but in the same time we also have a car affordability crisis. If we look at the cost of the most popular car in every decade and adjust it for inflation, we can see that they have in fact ballooned heavily. A Ford Model A in the 1930s in the US cost about $10,500 in today's money. While if you go to more recent examples, the Toyota RAV4 or a Tesla Model Y would cost you between $30,000 and $44,000 in today's money. A huge difference. In Europe, the same thing happened. In Germany in the 1950s, a Volkswagen Beetle cost around 10,500 euros in today's money. If you go to a more recent example, the Volkswagen Golf Gen 8 now costs 28,000 euros. So the price of a car has tripled. We have been promised abundance and prosperity, but in reality, it is now 3 times more expensive to own a car than after the end of the freaking Second World War. And of course, these cars are better and safer and more economic, and in many ways better. But what the regulations did is that they have removed the possibility of producing cheap cars for people that just need that. So what fuels the price increase? This is partly because of the mandatory safety features. It is estimated that the package of these features will add 2,000 euros to the cost of the car, which has essentially killed the segment B compact cars market. Car makers can't anymore produce a car at the price point which makes sense for the customer, contains all the safety features, and also provides enough profit for the car maker. And let's not forget that in the same time there's a housing crisis going on, and people have been able to avoid the housing crisis to some extent by moving further out into rural neighborhoods and then using their cars to commute to work. Also, some workplaces are not even accessible with public transport. So in a lot of ways, we as people and as a society have become dependent on cars. Living without car is a romantic image and picture and maybe a possibility for some very urban populations, but not for the society as a whole. We also cannot accept a further creeping intrusion into our privacy. In the age of AI, surveillance of people has become more affordable and more possible with the advent of AI and executable at a much larger scale. George Orwell did not write 1984 as an inspiration, he wrote it as a utopia. There have been countries where the government was actively spying on its citizens to eliminate any movement that was unsatisfied with the government or any movement that the government could see as a threat to itself. Think about Iran, think about North Korea, think about Russia. Just because our current governments are not trying to surpass us and not trying to impose dictatorships on us, doesn't mean that they're not going to try it in 20 years' time. If we give them the tools today, then we are risking that the degradation of democracies becomes easier down the line. Of course, the way they try to do it is usually in the name of something good. Like the earlier attempt in the name of child safety when the EU wanted to mandate every internet company to log and scan all your private messages so that child predators can be caught easier. And of course, we would all want child predators to be caught more easier, and we would want more child predators to be caught, just like we would want our roads to be safer. So everyone would support a safer roads bill, but nobody would support a privacy reduction bill. So this is why it's not called a privacy reduction bill, it's called a road safety bill. And if you oppose it, then you could be labeled as someone who rejects road safety. Why would you do that? The problem is that it seems that in this bill, we cannot have one without the other. It has to be a compromise. At least that's the picture that we're shown. You will be labeled against road safety when you are simply pro-privacy. So what can we do? So this is a very divisive topic. Some people are okay with sacrificing some of their privacy in the name of safety, and for others, it is a red line. If you don't agree with the need to have a camera watch all drivers, you can sign a petition. I have put a link to one in the description. And let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please hit the like, hype it, send it to your friends. And if you want to see more like this, feel free to subscribe. I thank you for joining today, and I will see you in the next one.